not at the right place. This should not be working in Strasbourg. It has no sense.
يعني اليسار ما بين الحركات الاجتماعيه والاحزاب.
We are in the university campus of the social together with Maja. Where can we find the transform stand?
قناة الخيل
اليسار المصري بعد الثورة بعد 2011 كان في سياسة مختلفة ازاي هيتنظم اليسار المصري. كان في فكرة تقليدية اللي هي تسبق 2011 يتجمعوا عشان يعملوا حزب سياسي بعد 2011 رغم الهدف خلق بيت اليسار، بيت اتجمع فيه كل الفوائد اليسارية وكل من ينتمي لليسار خلقوا بيت اليسار. تصور تاني في مصر وفي مبادرات النشاط في طبيعه عمليه في ضعف سواء العمل تتحرك تحقق بطاقات في مؤسسه التنظيم المستقل او المسابقات الاجتماعيه تتحرك تشكيلات محليه غير شعبيه.
مختصر بشكلها المصري وانا ركزت على اهم الخرافات اللي تتخيل انها مهمه لبناء اجماع ما بين الحركات الاجتماعيه من اشكال خاصه بها غير تقليديه وما بين الاحزاب السياسيه خصوصا الاحزاب الديمقراطيه.
Ah oui, oui, oui. En français, oui. En français, oui.
On va voir combien de personnes comprennent français.
Ah oui.
Alors, il y a un propos. Alors, disons, les lois. Anglais? Et vous connaissez parce que quand il voit
El Greco, El Greco. En grec.
Non, je vais essayer de parler français, mais quand vous avez un problème, je vais continuer.
Oui, oui, oui.
Et je vais vous avouer que je déteste parler en anglais.
Oui.
Donc, alors, il y a un débat très intéressant parce qu'à travers les toiles exposées, on constate bien qu'il y a toujours, disons, des différences entre les différents pays, même dans la gauche, disons, dans la partie de la gauche, mais parmi aussi les différents groupes qui réalisent le mouvement. Et ça, c'est normal parce qu'on parle de pays différents, de traditions différentes, de cultures différentes. Donc, ce n'est pas possible d'avoir un seul modèle pour parler de développement, soit des mouvements, soit des partis politiques. Mais d'autre part, à travers l'expérience des CIS, je pourrais faire quelques remarques concernant les points.
We would also like to change
The gentleman. I don't mind co-chairing, but it's quite a small group, so do we really need two people to facilitate? I mean, I don't mind, it's a question. I'm happy you facilitate.
thank you for coming to the two workshops combined into one, which is good at this time of day when most of the activists are still so why not combine those who do come, and we can have, and also we can have a very interesting discussion and hear different perspectives as well. So the two workshops was a workshop on social ecology, which is going to be here, and then a workshop on ecological.
Socialist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was going to meet there, and so we're combining and to see what interesting conversations come. So we will.
When the Brundtland report was first published, 130 nation states have signed international agreements to protect the environment. Over 130 nation states have signed international agreements to protect the environment.
What I was going to do there was to present collaborative research projects we've been doing on the concept of eco-socialism. And there have been two starting points we wanted to emphasize, very closely related to what you say, or rather related to where you ended up with, like where to start with the challenge. First would be that we wanted to emphasize the notion of political transformations. We find that there's a school of full political cooperation with the system, and often call themselves realo, right? Like total reformism within the system, thinking that full political cooperation is the only way to actually change anything, right? And then there would be the school with very sort of utopian thinking, describing clearly what the challenges are, but perhaps less with political ideas how to move forward. So we wanted to push the concept of transformation as a political tool for discussing how to start working here and now when the challenges are really acute, but keeping a clear political utopia in mind. And to me, that the concept of transformation has been sort of very useful for going through what the political agenda would be. Now, related to that, the other question we wanted to ask ourselves is to what extent we can rely the strategy of trying to control the political government. That sort of relates to the issue of to what extent we should rely on controlling environmental agencies or the environmental agenda. Obviously there's something lacking. But to me the other way of putting the issue would be to what extent we should count on the prospects of the strategy of controlling the government as such. And now there would be sort of two challenges to the idea of taking political power and trying to use it to bring forth an eco-socialist transformation. The other would be the sort of classical Marxist critique. What Rosa Luxemburg was quoted saying is that there's as little socialism in labour protection laws as there are in municipal laws about keeping the streets clean. Which implies, right?
Can you repeat that, please?
That there's as little socialism slower. And what I'm trying to say, that there's a classical Marxist position saying that political action, like to control the government, is futile as long as there's a given capitalist system of production in function. That productive relations are what matters, and if you want to change anything, you have to change productive relations. Now the other challenge would be, of course, that government's power is always about top-down control, whereas you could say that the only possibility to change would be starting from social movements, like creating horizontal, non-hierarchical relations, and so on. And any strategy trying to get control of the government is
somehow presupposing the idea of top-down control. And when we were analyzing what we call capitalist barriers to sustainable transformation, a lot of these capitalist barriers seem to be not about the idea of profit or not about the idea of market, but about top-down control. Right? The preference, for example, of oil to say solar power in energy, for example, seems to be more about top-down control than market profitability as such. And so you could ask whether the form of government is supporting these kind of top-down chains of control by even though some kind of positive, say, it's a dream investment-led change is attempted. So those were like the questions we were posing ourselves, and I found your discussion quite interesting because it sort of tackles this, or sort of poses the same questions, but with a bit of a different vocabulary. I found, and I just, I just wanted to put sort of our agenda on the table. Great.
Well, I will a little bit oppose Dimitrios. He told that humankind is in a war with nature, that for our benefit. It is not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of a very little part of the humankind, the financial groups. You know that from the whole global amount of money, 99% are based on nothing, speculative electronic money. Yeah? Only 1% is based on goods and labor and so on. So those are who set the rules for us.
I don't disagree with it.
I can explain without Karl Marx, yeah, because what's the kind of capitalism we are living in now? The debt capitalism. You need credit to start anything, any business. Without, yeah, it's like riding a bicycle. Yeah, if you stop, you fall down. You fall down. So yeah, it must run with the credits all the time. And the banks want more money back. So it's a profit. Yeah, the economists count GDP, which must grow and grow. The theory of the growth. And in physical, physical expression, it creates exponential curve. And this financial exponential curve, when projected into our physical world, which is finite, yeah, it's a global, Earth globe, the exponential will end up at the limits of the finite world, and that system will collapse. Professor Johan Rockström from Stockholm University founded some...
I personally am thankful that you mentioned that you were a leading member of the Communist Party.
Not leading, expert in India.
Are you a member of the Communist Party or not?
Yes,
You are.
yes, not leading.
Okay, so you're not a leading member. But may I remind you, because you correctly analyzed that within the society that is suffering from the war against nature, that it is essentially controlled by a minority. There is no debate about that. There's no debate about it. But what I do want to remind you of is that when we had a large empire, a very large empire to the east of your country, which was devoted to state capitalism, it was also an ecological disaster as a society. So it's not simply a caricature of capitalism that is the problem. The problem is
deeper than that. It doesn't only deal with exploitation, it also deals with domination. So we have to get rid of hierarchy if we're going to have an ecological society. If we can agree on that, we'll get married.
We mutually can profit of one another and not having to listen to one person alone for a long time. My short comment on this war on nature is that we are already rolling back a little bit. It's the first head of the UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Program, a German called Klaus Töpfer. He already talked as a politician on the war of nature, or on the war on nature. And now what politicians are doing right now is rolling back and talking more about green economy and things like this. And we have to keep this in mind that we, as a society or as a nation, as the nations of the world, have been far more advanced in the political discourse or the words we use. And I think this is kind of very essential to keep in mind that this is not a new idea. It already has been in political level, but it was killed by whatever reasons.
When we planned the workshop, we said we wanted to make sure people can participate. So I think it's good to leave people have questions and answers. And I think it's good, as you say, keep it short. But then I would like to break up so we have some time talking small groups in Paris and then come back in January. Because otherwise it's usually men speaking and the people are comfortable. And I think it's something we need to work on, and older people. So if that's fine, that's how we do it. Yeah.
People who are without any financial, and we cannot raise the employment because we don't need more and more goods. We either have to shorten the labor hours from 8 to 6 or 4, or from 5 days to 4 days, or really we cannot fight the money, the capitalism with people without money. So we need to introduce the unconditional basic income to give money to unemployed, to care, to honor women, caring, taking care for children, for elderly people, giving money to volunteers in non-governmental organizations, and not to push the people wanting to do other things to compete for less and less jobs in the labor market.
European traditional social democratic parties and ideas that they would have some kind of minimal sympathy for the Syrian project. That has been a misestimation. What we noted in Northern Europe recently is that the Social Democrats, they've been the most fiercely anti-Syriza forces in the north. It's not that the Social Democrats are compromising to what the Commission is pushing, it's not that they're compromising to what Germany is pushing. They're just pushing further. They want Syriza to have tougher conditions than the Commission wants.
We should, the people who are aware that time is now, and that we are at the crossroads. We should try to convince, even here in these last days of the forum, that if we are not able to understand that time is now and the Greek battle is our battle, and if Greek will be defeated, there will be no more space for water, for social rights, for anti-poverty, for women, for freedom. In this sense, and I think that, for example, after a long period of really weakness in terms of capability to propose political agenda